Huge shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Stick around till the end to learn more. Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. This is somewhat old news by the time you're watching it, but hey, videos take a long time to make, and this story won't be dying down anytime soon. If you watch my second channel, Whimzu, you might remember a video I made about who Microsoft might acquire next, and Activision was one of my top picks. The allegations, the dropping stock price, the fact that upcoming major titles were delayed, it seemed like somebody was gonna try and acquire this golden goose. If Microsoft hadn't done it, somebody else would. We know that Facebook or Meta or Zuckerland, they were trying to make offers at the same time. And frankly, I never expected Microsoft to pay this much, almost $70 billion for Bobby's bundle. But alas, here we are. The deal isn't finalized yet, but by June 2023, Activision will be fully integrated into Microsoft. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think this will be defined as monopolistic by the courts. Gaming is a lot bigger than just the core console market and the AAA publishers. And an American company buying another American company when its biggest competition in the market is foreign entities, this likely won't raise too many eyebrows. Now, normally, I don't love the idea of trillion-dollar corporations going all Standard Oil. Monopolies are bad, competition is good. But in Activision's case, I genuinely believe it's for the best. Activision has embodied the worst of the gaming industry for a good while now. This is by far the largest acquisition in gaming ever. It's probably going to be the single largest event in gaming for the 2020s, but it's probably not the last acquisition, not from Microsoft or any of their peers. The reason Microsoft wanted this company is likely to compete with those other big conglomerates. This could be the first shots at an acquisition war for these trillion-dollar companies. And, yeah, who knows how that will go. But I'm sure many of you are simply wondering, how does this affect me, the consumer? Now, in terms of this console war nonsense, I don't really care because I'm an adult. I'm lucky enough to have both boxes and a nice PC, but trust me, these aren't sports teams. They are companies trying to build brand loyalty to sell you stuff. So, actually, I guess they are sports teams. Okay, you can go and fight in the comments now. So if you're a PC user, things will change, but assuredly for the better. I imagine Battle.net will no longer be the only way to buy these games at launch. If you're a console user, well, that's a whole other ordeal. Nintendo never had much at stake losing Activision, so yeah, not much to say there. But if you own a PlayStation, this could be concerning. Prior to this acquisition, while Microsoft had quite the stable of valuable IPs, the Bethesda purchase was a big-ass deal. Now, what they own, it's just insane. Call of Duty, Spyro, Crash, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk, StarCraft, Overwatch, Warcraft, Diablo, these are just a mere fraction of the new IPs at their disposal. Besides these massive names, there's a whole lot more in the mix, from Blur to Zork to 3D Ultra Mini Golf. But yeah, those big names, they're a big deal, especially Call of Duty, Diablo, and Overwatch. Outside of the EA Sports lineup, or GTA, there isn't anything bigger in the core console market. Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 could easily sell over 50 million units combined, and that's like the lowest end of estimates. Full stop, if Microsoft announced that from 2023 onward, every Activision game would be an Xbox and PC exclusive, well, that would be really bad for PlayStation. Even if Sony has these exclusives, these won't sell anything combined to the annual output of Activision's entire lineup. Like, just imagine if Warzone was delisted from the console, every old Activision or Blizzard title removed, and that was that. Here he is, the man himself, me, Tyler, in plush form. I'm not fucking with you here. For a limited time only, you can get your very own Tyler to do with as you please. Notice its bald head, those weird hair spikes sticking out, my fashionable, albeit revealing robe. The reviews are in. My cat loves it. Don't waste your chance. He's got blue pants. Go to the makeshift link in the description to get what some are calling a plush version of Tyler from Knowledge Hub. Generally, exclusives keep fans of a platform on that platform, but if you take away big names that they used to have access to, a lot of people will migrate. And if Phil wanted to go scorched earth on all this, he could. But they won't. Sony is worth less than 1/10 of Microsoft's value. They are just not competitors. The Xbox brand might have been competing with PlayStation a decade ago, but that was when it needed to justify its own existence to Microsoft higher-ups. That still might sound like they're about to go all Gilded Age on Sony's ass, but I don't think that's the case. Just destroying the PlayStation division outright wouldn't help much at all. Sony isn't the threat. The real enemy is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google. If Facebook was willing to spend big bucks on Activision, who's to say they won't knock on EA's door with an enticing offer? Or say Google goes to Take-Two and makes GTA 6 a Stadia exclusive. If PlayStation got wiped off the face of the planet, it would open up a huge opportunity for the big guys to move in. And that's why, at least in some capacity, Activision will continue to have some presence on PlayStation. Warzone and any existing games as a service are going to remain there, especially when it brings in microtransactions. That brings in a lot of money. Limiting that player base for free-to-play titles that are already established on PlayStation, it doesn't make a lot of sense. However, for future titles, that's far less uncertain, and frankly, unlikely that they will ever come to PlayStation unless something truly unprecedented happens. Here's why. Activision Blizzard, as it stands, brings in somewhere around $1.5 to $2 billion a year of profit, not revenue. Considering this acquisition was almost $70 billion, if Microsoft changed nothing and continued releasing games on both Xbox and PlayStation as usual, it would take over 30 years to make that back. And that just doesn't make a ton of sense. Microsoft bought Minecraft and yes, released titles on future platforms, but they also acquired that for only $2.5 billion. Minecraft could easily make that money back very quickly just by selling the game. If they restricted PlayStation access, it wouldn't guarantee those users move to Xbox since anybody with a potato PC can run it. Having this game on both platforms made sense because by comparison, it was very cheap to acquire. But something like Bethesda, a more expensive acquisition at $7.5 billion, we've seen things have been different. At first, the language surrounding exclusivity was vague, exactly like it is with the Activision purchase. The reason they do this is to avoid causing a giant panic over these deals, raising eyebrows with regulators, and making PlayStation fans angry. This is supposed to be cause for celebration. So yeah, they're not going to say, sorry bud, but that franchise you love isn't going to be on your platform of choice in 5 years. They let the news sink in, and once that deal is done, they quietly show their hand. It wasn't until rather recently that we learned Elder Scrolls 6 was not coming to PlayStation. Considering the price they paid, this all makes sense. It would be much harder to get $7.5 billion just through game sales. If these titles were on PlayStation and Sony gets a cut of the profits for each game sold on their platform, well, it's gonna take a while. Instead, through exclusivity, they ensure more people are buying Xboxes, more potential Game Pass subscribers, and more people inside the Xbox ecosystem. So keep in mind, this cost almost 10 times as much as that Bethesda acquisition. Phil Spencer tweeted that Call of Duty is going to remain on PlayStation. Oh, wait, he didn't. He said, it's our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. That's interesting, isn't it? In any case, we already know that Warzone is staying on PlayStation. And in this statement, he could be referring to contractual agreements that must be fulfilled. So up to 2023, maybe 2024. This would make a lot of sense. If you don't remember, Deathloop was a Microsoft game being developed by Arcane, who is under Bethesda, who is under Microsoft. It was a PlayStation exclusive due to those contractual agreements, but even now, in 2022, we're seeing Starfield as an Xbox exclusive. I think it's fair to assume that these contractual agreements don't span too many years then. So yeah, given all that, it seems more than likely that Activision's days on PlayStation are numbered, but I think there's something else that will make this work. If it were so, that no Activision titles were on PlayStation again, Sony would be in a bad position. Possibly tens of millions of users will migrate to Xbox because, well, the games they play are on there. So Sony has to do something. Now they can't just go and buy studios to solve this problem. Sony is big, but they're not that big. Buying up timed exclusivity rights is probably a bad idea as well, because if Microsoft gets pissed, they can just remove Call of Duty outright. Or they could buy up the rights to something like GTA 6. They have Sony by the balls right now, and they can keep squeezing as much as they want. For the customer, it's not all doom and gloom though. I've always felt Sony gets arrogant after they do well in the market, and this is something that will, hopefully, crush their hubris. You could expect more pro-consumer moves because they want to keep people on this platform. Stuff like day one first-party titles included on their own Game Pass, reportedly in development, would be a start. Better backwards compatibility could be a larger focus because they need to cash in on something and nostalgia helps. If they really wanted to earn good graces, dropping that fee for playing online would help, but that's probably not going to happen. And I feel I have to reiterate, having exclusive titles like this isn't enough. Sure, the best-selling Sony exclusives might sell 20 million units plus, but usually over 100 million people buy these boxes. Also, they appeal to the same demographic, people who like PlayStation. Overwatch sold 50 million units, Diablo 3 sold over 30. These titles aren't going to salvage this, so Sony has to do something. But I do think there's a solution to this problem, even if it's not ideal for PlayStation. So a few months ago, Phil Spencer talked about how Game Pass was offered to Nintendo and Sony, but they did not want anything to do with it. This makes a lot of sense because companies don't want a competitor's service on their platforms. Since you get games on Game Pass for a monthly fee without having to buy them externally, there would be no reason to get them through the Nintendo eShop or PlayStation Store. That means no royalty fees, and that's really how Sony makes a lot of its money. You might also wonder why Microsoft would ever offer this service to competing platforms, because it's kind of a defining trait of their hardware. It's because Game Pass, or any subscription service, needs a lot of users to make a profit. At 25 million subscribers, Game Pass brings in a minimum of $3 billion a year right now. While we don't know all the costs Microsoft pays to publishers to put these games on that service, it doesn't seem likely they're making a profit. Consider also that right now a lot of users are getting Game Pass through promotional pricing, so that 3 billion number might not be accurate right now. Either way, it's not currently profitable, at least not by much. So say Microsoft could double the number of Game Pass subscribers. Now it's possible, especially with Call of Duty and Overwatch 2 and Elder Scrolls, that they could. Again, nobody knows the exact numbers of profit to revenue, but they'd probably bring in $6 billion a year, then spend $3 billion for licensing fees and make $3 billion in profit. Now that would require 50 million users, and that's a lot, but it's possible. But even still, it's only making $3 billion a year, and most users aren't buying these Activision games, so it's still gonna take decades to make profits after that $70 billion investment. But what if you could triple the current numbers? 75 million users. What about quadruple? 100 million. There aren't even that many people playing on Xbox these days. It would seem impossible. But what if Microsoft put Game Pass on PlayStation? Back when it was offered to Sony, Microsoft did not have a ton of leverage. Now they hold all the cards. If there were 75 or 100 million Game Pass users, something that would only be achievable right now by using PlayStation, they could quickly make back the cost of buying Activision in maybe 10 years or so, possibly less. They'd effectively use Sony's own platform to benefit themselves. At first, this might sound cool, Game Pass on PlayStation, but I highly doubt Halo Infinite or Elder Scrolls 6 will ever be on the PS5, even through this Game Pass system. Right now, Microsoft already has 2 separate Game Pass services, one for Xbox and one for PC. I could easily see Microsoft allowing just third-party games and Call of Duty on Game Pass. Honestly, I don't even know if something like Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4 would be put on the platform, because Microsoft can't just put every exclusive it has on PlayStation, because, well, then there'd be no incentive to buy an Xbox. But also, there needs to be incentive to get PlayStation users to get Game Pass, so, it's a tough one. Another alternative is cloud streaming, which, yeah, that could happen. I'm not terribly fond of cloud streaming, but Xbox cloud streaming on PlayStation, while not the ideal way to play these games, could give access to these titles without porting them over. In return, it's possible Sony puts their own streaming service on Xbox, but I don't know how far either of them are willing to go on this front. Now, I know the most ideal and batshit crazy scenario would be Microsoft uses its leverage to make Sony some kind of deal where Game Pass and Xbox exclusives come to PlayStation and PlayStation exclusives come to Xbox, but I don't imagine something like this would happen unless Microsoft acquired EA, unless they had that kind of leverage. Ironically, this would fulfill the Trip Hawkins 3DO dream, but yeah, that's pretty far out there. The final possibility is Activision just isn't on PlayStation anymore. That's it. Call of Duty remains on PlayStation for the remainder of the contractual agreement. Microsoft would just rely on the idea that enough people decide to buy an Xbox this time around because of all of this. And honestly, given the strength of the brands, it's not that risky of a move. They'd make the money back by increasing the price of Game Pass after enough people have subscribed. What matters is whether they care about their reputation, which for now, it seems like they do. Another problem is that if Microsoft loses PlayStation, they don't have that buffer zone for Facebook, Apple, Google, what have you. I might be reading too much into it, but I really do think Phil's remarks of our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation is leaning towards the Game Pass or cloud streaming solution, because this is very strangely phrased. If I had to take a bet, it's on this. Regardless, we won't know how any of this turns out for a few years. I wouldn't expect a grand announcement of Game Pass on PlayStation or Call of Duty is exclusive to Xbox until 2024-2025. But yeah, it kind of has to happen eventually. So yeah, conglomerates aside, this could end well for most people involved. Activision's work culture is improved, better games are made without Bobby demanding more microtransactions, and older franchises return. I mean, even Hexen got brought up again. Crash was dead, Spyro and Tony Hawk as well, and now it seems that they at least have a chance of surviving, and Blizzard can at least stop being this. Maybe. It's a good kick in the ass Sony needs to ensure that its own Game Pass competitor is good. And also, I suppose this might be the end of Bobby's saga. I mean, I didn't mention his name almost at all this episode. There's almost no chance that Microsoft keeps him on board after all of this, and so when he finally leaves in 2023, I imagine the winds will shift, a new era begins. Yes, he leaves with a golden parachute. He'll make a lot of money, but at least for us playing these games, and for the people working at Activision, I'm sure it's cathartic to know that this will all finally, hopefully, be over. So, for this one last time, I'll go easy on you, Bobby. Goodbye, Bobby. Good night, my sweet fucking fuck you, Bobby. Squarespace gives people a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to create your own website. Connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content. Manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights, all on one easy-to-use platform. You can create your own community on the site with the fully integrated commenting system. Yes, likes, replies, and comments are all here. powerful blogging tools allow you to schedule posts as well. With various extensions, you can manage inventory, promote products, streamline bookkeeping, and more. Display posts from other social media platforms on your site automatically updated for you. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/knowledgehub to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Link is in the description. Go check it out.